So here we are on 9/11. I was gonna wait until Tuesday, but I decided after the fact is not good. Let's do it on 9/11. So it's been 20 years today since the planes hit the Pentagon. Plane in Pennsylvania crashed, and the plane hit the World Trade Center. For me, the morning of the 9/11, I was out in the field at Fort Hood, Texas, with an aviation unit, and we didn't really know until probably around 11:30 how bad it was, because simply the reason is cell phones back then, you didn't have the area coverage that you have today, and a lot of lines were obviously tied up because of the overcrowding and stuff. So in fact, I didn't even see the actual TV part of it until 10:30 that night when I got home from work, So, but we were out there in the field. First thing that we took notice to is all the Black Hawks were grounded where they were because of the fact that they couldn't fly because of the air traffic rule. And so later on, about 2:30 in the afternoon, they were granted a one-time flight to fly all the Black Hawks back to Fort Hood and then land them there. And that night, my boss told me to open the domicile up the next morning. I am always 30 minutes ahead of everybody else. I can get my paperwork done. I got there at 4:30 in the morning. At 5, the floodgates open, and my cooks couldn't get to work because they couldn't get through traffic. Because back in 2003, Fort Hood had 52 known points of entry, whether it be through the woods, back roads, whatever. It got shut down to 4. It took my cooks anywhere from 3 to 4 hours to get through, because everything was being hand-checked ID and everything was being searched and all that. So most of the time I tell my cooks, stay where you are, be here tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock, and you'll work tomorrow all day. And I went and pulled all the cooks out of bed that I had in barracks and got them to work, because we still had soldiers to feed, and we still had the same mission to do, which is feeding soldiers, regardless of what else was going on. We didn't have time to sit there and watch the news or focus on whatever was going on with the 9/11 rescues and all that. I would read about that in the papers in the days to come, because we had a job to do and we had to keep doing it. We didn't have time to just sit around and talk about it. Every once in a while, when somebody would come in from shift and say something to us, we go, okay, that's what's going on. We would just sit there, and we had TVs in DFAC back then. We would sit there and just listen to the news for maybe 10 minutes. There wasn't a whole lot of updates. There wasn't a whole lot going on. It was just the destruction of the Pentagon and the World Trade Centers, and then the plane crash in Pennsylvania. For me, it would change the next 8 years of my life. I had 8 years left in active duty. I would make 3 deployments to Iraq and 1 to Afghanistan. And of course, Afghanistan is just now drawing down after 20 years, and we are going through that. So 9/11 takes on more of a special meaning this year because of the fact that the war in Afghanistan is done. And it is a fact that people know that we are forever tied to that, regardless of what our situation is now. The ones that served in Afghanistan and Iraq are forever tied to 9/11, because without 9/11, maybe we go to Afghanistan, maybe we don't. Maybe we go to Iraq, maybe we don't. But with 9/11, it was a predestined move to make, and for, so my first deployment, was 03, 04, so just a couple years after 9/11. And like I said, I would make 2 more, one to Afghanistan before I retired in 2012. There's not a lot of 9/11 memories that I have because simply I was at work. It wasn't anything. I mean, I got phone calls from people, that knew me, and they said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to do my job. That's what I'm going to do. Whatever that is, that's what I'm going to do." I remember going to church during the day, maybe a couple days after we were having prayer there at church, and then, like I said, we just did our job. There was no other thing to do but to do your job. I remember the DFAC would swell to full capacity because nobody would go anywhere to eat lunch, because of the fact that time limit it took to get across post to the food court and back. So our numbers that we were feeding would go up, and we would work longer hours and all that, but that was just a predestination to what we would do in combat for the next 20 years. And, as I sit here and I think about 9/11, there is just that emptiness that you feel when there's nothing you could have done to prevent it, but you had a part in going after those people and being a part of that mission and being a part of people's lives, your soldiers, my soldiers, the family members of my soldiers, and everybody else. And, there's just nothing else to say, other than, hey, we did what was asked of us. In the book I'm writing, I have a chapter, the last chapter of the book is we did what was asked of us. Basically, it just means that we did what we were supposed to do. Whether it's go to war, be in peacetime, train to fight to win. We train in peace for war. So when we go to war, we're better at fighting a war, we're better trained. But the 2,997 people that lost their lives that day in 3 different locations, you have to realize that is just what happened. There's nothing anybody could have done to save those people because they were doing their job. They were in the place that they were supposed to be. So I just wanted to jump on here today and just say we'll never forget 9/11, and we will always remember the 2,997 and the more than 7,000 that died in the 20 years to come after that. So you could round it out at about 10,000 people, and you would know that it's the cost of freedom. Every day people die for your freedom and my freedom, and every day people do what they have to do regardless of what it is, and we are going to do whatever we have to do to keep our freedom. So as you honor the people that lost their lives today, never forget them, and make sure that you always take a moment to realize that you don't control things and that you are doing what you can, and you're doing the best you can to get through whatever difficult situation it is. Tuesday we're going to talk about suicide and the answer to suicide prevention. So I'll talk to y'all then.